Oren, welcome to the In the Know podcast. Great to see you today. How are you?
Thank you, James. Very well, thank you. Very excited. This is my first podcast appearance, and can't wait to get into it. So yeah, really, really excited for today. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're excited. Lower the expectations. It's me. As somebody said, the poor man's Joe Rogan, which I love that comment. Oh dear, I love people. So today we're going to be talking about a real interesting subject to me personally anyway, which is
hmm
artificial intelligence. And we had
Yep.
a conversation a couple of weeks ago and we've connected on LinkedIn. I've seen some of your posts. And as a business owner who's going through the process of artificial intelligence and trying to
Mm,
reposition our business, I know how difficult it is from my perspective in recruitment.
mm,
So we agreed to jump on, have a quick conversation. And really, this is about cutting through the noise, you know, trying to give advisors some practical advice with regards to what they need to be looking at, the questions they need to be asking with regards to artificial intelligence, because I know you've got a business in it. So hopefully it'll be a practical guide to help advisors out there, because I think there's a lot of noise. But as ever, before we get into that, your background, I'm interested in your early years because, the profession has a bit of an
mm,
issue attracting young people. You're a young
mhm.
person who's now attached to the profession, but just tell me about your early years growing up. Where did you grow up? Family, friends. Tell me more about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background, I'm from Bristol. So grew up in Bristol. Myself, grew up with my mother. My father passed away at a young age, so it was the two of us. We grew up together. My mum had a really good run of career things, so we had it a little bit difficult when I was really young. And then my mum got this job. She was working at Summerfield Supermarket, if anybody remembers it. But she was working at Summerfield Supermarket, delivery managing kind of stuff. She then got a promotion to managing kind of all of the delivery drivers, then a promotion to manage projects. Summerfield went under in about 2008, I think, ish. After that, she went on to manage projects elsewhere, met somebody who introduced her into management consulting, and she had this really, really amazing trajectory from there. She got a contract at British Airways, and from there, kind of her career has just grown and grown and grown. So I think as growing up, I had it was a yeah, kind of a kind of varied childhood where I grew up kind of very working class. However, I'd seen this kind of trajectory and kind of seen what dedication to something could kind of bring. My mum was working very hard. She was driving to, she got this offer at British Airways and didn't want to turn it down because she knew that this was a massive opportunity for us. And she drove to Heathrow every single morning for about 3 years from Bristol to London
Wow.
before the days of work from home. So, I mean, I was inspired from a young age by that and just saw kind of what dedication and could do for somebody's life, and the impact that she was having. She was my mum ran sessions for women who are in business, and kind of like leadership, mentorship stuff. So I was going along to that when she was running those sessions and seeing how she was inspiring people and heard the way that people spoke about my mum and the influence that she had on them. And so kind of I saw that from a young age, and I think that just kind of instilled this real strong drive in me that I wanted to do that for myself. I wanted to grow, see how far I could go with the platform that I could create for myself, and kind of try to inspire others through going through a journey of kind of growth and development. So that was my earliest years and kind of what kind of got me first kind of very driven and motivated and where that drive comes from. Um, I then went through the school system, decent grades, did well, was big into psychology. My uncle was a counselor, and I didn't know loads about what he did, but it always sounded really interesting. Sounded like he helped people. My school had a psychology course, so I went and took that in from kind of the age of 16, which is younger than most people do. Got a little bit interested in business. I'd always been a little bit entrepreneurial as well. I had a run of kind of random businesses, from the classic selling sweets in the playground all the way through to kind of we were, yeah, buying things locally at auctions, selling them. We started this huge eBay store. We were selling iPhones. We bought and sold cars at points, and kind of done a load of random entrepreneurial stuff just for the interest of it. But had always had this kind of side professional, education focused, corporate path kind of taking on in the background, because that had been kind of what I'd seen as safe and the way forward. So I yeah, kind of lived in these worlds where I had this interest in business and had this interest in psychology, went to school, went to university, went to university in Birmingham, studied business and psychology. And then kind of was in this space of, yeah, like learning a little bit more about business and kind of what that could mean and how psychology can be applied to different businesses. I was in my third year of uni, so it was a 4-year course with an internship year in the middle. And in that year, I was applying to loads and loads of schemes, looking for intern programs. I started to kind of reach out to my networks, and I had met a person called Danny Cox at Hargreaves Lansdown, who's a great mentor to me. And Danny had attended as a delegate to one of my mum's her conferences for kind of promoting diversity in business. So I reached out to Danny, found out about a program, an intern program that Hargreaves Lansdown had started running. It was for students kind of who are at university in west of England, diversity focused, and just saw it as a massive opportunity to get a foot into a door of a really good organization. So from there, I applied to the scheme. I got onto the scheme, joined HL as an intern, and that was kind of my journey from the early days into kind of into financial services today.
Okay. So you took the path in the corporate world, joined Hargreaves
Yes.
Lansdown,
Yes.
and what were you doing there, and what impact did you have with financial advisors? Did you get to speak to them? Did you have an
Mm.
affiliation with them? What was your role?
So I came into I did a variation of roles at HL. I came into HL in their marketing team actually. So Danny was the head of communications at the time. I joined in Danny's team, which was really, really great. The thing that Danny had told me in my internship was that you should focus less kind of early on exactly the task and project that you're doing. Like get that done, do that really well. But he said that the biggest value unlock is in the relationships that you build, the people that you meet, and he pushed me very early on to build relationships across the organization. Danny put me in rooms with some kind of amazing leaders at HL and kind of introduced me to every member of the C-suite. I met the CEO in the first week, and from there, I just kind of reached out to people and followed up and just said, "Hey, kind of, is there anything in your department going on that's interested? These are kind of the skills I have." And so I was kind of just getting dropped off across different projects, meeting people, shadowing people as an intern. So that was throughout the internship program. When I rejoined as a graduate, I kind of went away to uni, came back to HL, was offered their graduate program. I rejoined HL as a graduate. And when I rejoined, that was a rotational scheme. So I started off kind of managing projects in the operations department. So I started off in operations, managed a project there, and then kind of moved around to other interesting things that were going on. One project that I had found out about was a project for advisors. HL were working on some tech internally they were trying to build, and I was really lucky that I managed to kind of through the people who I'd met at HL get a spot on the team, and I was working with their advisors building building some tech internally. And what I was doing kind of as part of that was that I was speaking to advisors, chatting to advisors, kind of listening to their pains, listening to problems, listening to their feedback on the tool that we were building for them, meeting advisors kind of pretty regularly and getting their feedback, understanding more about them as people, how they were running how they were running kind of their own advice book. And was kind of learning a lot there. I was also going through the RO exams throughout HL. They put all of their graduates through the RO exam, so I was kind of in that advice track as well anyway, and just kind of learning more about the space. So that was kind of my involvement with advice at HL.
Okay, it's a really inspiring story, actually. And then you posted not too long ago.
Mm,
You've left Hargreaves Lansdown, and you've
yes,
taken the step with your new business.
yes.
What made you walk away from my perception to be a very comfortable corporate life?
Mm. Absolutely. It was a very it was a comfortable corporate life, and HL is an amazing organization. From the inside, it was full of great leaders, inspirational people. people who really took time to develop and improve and help you to learn and kind of find your weaknesses, mentors. I had great coaches. There were great opportunities there, and everything was going really well. I had a decent network, like I said, from coming in as from the intern program. I was welcomed by people who I'd met previously, so those relationships were warm. And I think that why I loved HL in the start was that it was. I remember walking into the offices and just looking around me and just thinking like, wow, like I don't know what I'm doing here. Like
Mm.
I don't know how I've ended up here. And this like kind of being really well received, and I of course worked really hard kind of throughout my time, so I had quite a good reputation. And I remember thinking that like people have got all these expectations of me, like I'm gonna have to figure this out. Like I'm gonna have to figure out how to deliver in a corporate world. I'm gonna have to figure out how to be effective in financial services, how to make a difference to the company. And I think that that really, really pushed me. I felt a lot of people maybe call imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
just general insecurity, I'd say probably just kind of being new to it all. I felt a little bit of that, but that really, really made me work hard. It made me go away and think I can't turn up to meetings and not understand what different acronyms mean. I can't turn up to meetings and not know how to offer value to somebody who's a higher ranked employee than me. Or there was loads and loads of things about being effective in a corporate world that I didn't understand at all. And so that pushed me to work really, really hard. I was super driven. I just couldn't kind of get enough of it. I was kind of always asking for feedback and just trying to find my feet in this completely new world and level up to the kind of next level of effectiveness. Throughout my time at HL, I of course, from kind of putting all of this effort in, became more and more effective. I was trusted with some really amazing projects. The kind of the responsibility that I was given was kind of increasing and increasing. Um, However, kind of after about a year and a half or so, maybe, I kind of, through no fault of the own, no fault of the company, just became more comfortable in what I was doing. I'd been doing it for a little while. I'd kind of cut my teeth a little bit. I'd chuck myself into things that were a little bit ahead of me, and I'd learned through that process. I got to the point where I felt as though I know that I could do well in this space. I kind of had, like I said, been involved in kind of bigger projects, being more effective. And while I was getting praised for being more and more effective and being parts of bigger projects, internally, I was kind of getting a bit anxious that I was becoming comfortable and I felt that I deserved to be in the room. I would walk into meetings and I would know that I'd been working really hard for the last year. And even if somebody maybe was ranks above me, I would be very comfortable because I'd been working with people who were kind of even at the C-suite level as a graduate. So I was very comfortable. And I think that I missed that feeling that I had when I first walked in the door and I was like, oh, wow, I'm going to have to figure this out. I think I really missed that feeling because that got the most out of me. And so I think that was the point when I realized I think I could have a bigger impact. I think there's going to be a way that I can do even more. And I think there's going to be something out there that's going to be uncomfortable, but that is going to cause me to grow. And if I'm not super uncomfortable right now, I need to find a way to engineer that situation, which kind of got the most out of me in the early days. And yeah, so I just kind of from there was open to something that was going to push me even further. I had yeah, I decided kind of at the end of my time there that I decided that I think that there's going to be something um, that could push me kind of further, and I knew I was interested in entrepreneurship, and so I wanted to get that kind of insecure newbie back, and that was what pushed me to the yeah, to kind of taking the risk to go down the entrepreneurial path.
And that led you to AutoAdvise then, which is what
Yes,
you're
it.
doing now. I'm
Mm,
interested, just to go back slightly. Obviously,
yes,
from a young age, you've met a lot of senior people,
yes,
in leadership, C-suite. Very successful
yes.
company is HL.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
what would you say have been your takeaways meeting all of those people? Are there any common traits
Mm,
that you've sort of listened and learned and taken away?
mm. I think that so my takeaway with these kind of people is there's probably a couple of things that I think are important to kind of explore. I think that one thing that's important, uh, firstly, with these kind of people, is that they are. humans, and they are just humans generally who have done one thing consistently for a very long time. Is pretty much entirely what all of these amazing, exceptional people are. They're just humans who have done one thing, who have worked really hard at it and stuck at it. I think it's important to break down that barrier, because in your head you can sometimes see big company CEO, CMO, and think, oh, this kind of superhuman, I should never be able to, I should never kind of be able to breathe the same oxygen as them almost. And I think that that is I don't think that's the most constructive approach to it. I think that these people generally have worked really hard and needed help at some point, and now they're in a position where they can help others. And I think that a lot of people who are senior in organizations are more than happy to kind of give guidance and support to someone who just shows a little bit of ambition. And so I think that, yeah, one thing I've kind of learned from spending a lot of time around people who are kind of a long way ahead of me in their careers is that if you ask people for help, you'd be surprised how much they will help you. I think that if you ask people for advice, you'd be surprised how much time they will take. And if you show someone respect for the effort that they've made over years and show someone respect for what they're doing today, that goes a long way. There are so many people who deserve loads and loads of respect and praise. And because they have relatively normal jobs at relatively normal businesses, kind of beyond there, they're not celebrities. They don't receive anything like that. So I think that people really appreciate you taking the time. If you recognize that someone's, wow, you've come a really long way, and you say that I really respect that and look up to you, people appreciate that and will spend time and help you. So I think that that's kind of one thing that I've learned kind of about those type of people, and people who anyone who's watching this might be looking up to in their approach to this. But the things kind of on the side of what these kind of people are like varies. However, I'd say that common themes amongst them are kind of it's some alignment with who they are as a person. I think that these journeys to seniority take a long time, and if you're going to put 30 years of grind into one thing, I think that it seems to be much more sustainable from their perspective, that they feel some alignment, whether it's with the business directly, whether it's with what the gain they get outside of work might be from kind of this progression. But there has to be some kind of deeper anchoring and a reason why they're doing the thing that they're doing. So I think that that is one thing I've learned from a lot of people who are really successful and praise in their field. The other things is just being smart and taking mentorship. A lot of them say that almost every super senior person I've met, kind of in the corporate space at least, said that there was somebody who they took them under the wing early on, and they learnt lessons from them, and they turned up and they worked a little bit harder than they needed to. I think it's almost become a little bit controversial, kind of working hard and working long hours. I am a psychology background, so I'm massively into mental health, etc. I think is really important. But I think the reality is that a lot of these people have just worked very hard for a very long time. And then after a while, things start to work. And I think that opportunities present themselves if you give yourself a huge surface of time and engagement. And there's a saying, I guess, see more, sell more, which is like when you're seen more, of course, more opportunities arise. I think that applies to all different types of progression, where it's like if you put yourself in the room and in front of it all the time, these people who are super senior and they've had some great opportunities have been because they've put themselves in the room time and time again for 25 years. I don't think there are any other shortcuts to it.
No, I think you've made a couple of really interesting points. I think purpose is hugely valuable, and if you can align a purpose in what you do as a job, and then do it consistently, it becomes very powerful. But
absolutely,
I think having that purpose is hugely important, because if you don't, you won't get the consistency and the drive. And I've met many senior people, and I know it's quite easy to say, it's a bit of a broad brush comment, but I think the higher up you go, the sort of the more humble, or the more humility people have, because they've worked really hard to get there, and they're quite happy to spend a bit of time with other people to help them as well. So
absolutely.
Okay. So that was interesting. So look, you've obviously got an entrepreneurial spirit. As soon as I spoke to you a few weeks ago, I could sense it straight away. So tell me about AutoAdvise then, because you had some dealings with financial planners. Now, for clarity, was that financial planners who were working at Hargreaves Lansdown, or was this financial planners who were working outside of Hargreaves Lansdown? So just for clarity.
Yeah, so this is outside of Horry's
Outside.
Lansdowne. So
Okay.
this is post HL, outside of HL, and kind of across the wider advice industry. I
Great.
do, of course, have some friends at HL who are advisors there, but the developments of AutoAdvise was all kind of outside of HL.
Right. Excellent. Okay. So tell me about AutoAdvise. What is it? What does
Mm,
it aim to do?
mm. So we found a huge pain amongst many financial advisors where advisors have a really great skill set. They help clients to feel comfortable. They help clients to trust and feel confident in their finances. Something they help clients kind of through really hard life events, but it makes it a little bit easier for clients knowing that they have somebody who they trust and they feel safe around, and they can leave a massively, really, really important aspect of their life to somebody who's an expert and who looks after them. I think that financial advisors have businesses because they can create that feeling in their clients. They do that through spending time with their clients, through building relationships, building trust, and they're really, really good at that generally. The problem is that they're spending an hour doing that with their clients, and after that hour, they go away and they're completely underneath of administrative work, compliance documents, writing reports, writing up notes, reaching out to kind of admins, sending off LOAs, chasing up things that happened days and
Mm.
days ago, and trying to kind of keep track of all these different threads that are going on in their business. It really advisors are spending an hour doing what they should be doing and spending 3 or 4 hours after that doing things that kind of don't add any value to their clients and don't add any they don't add value to their clients, and they don't kind of bring the best out of them. So there's this massive misalignment between advisors, what they're great at, what their clients value them for, and what they're actually spending their time doing. So with AutoAdvise, our mission is to empower advisors to do all of the things they're great at and do way less of the things that they shouldn't be doing. I think that that's the kind of most important underline to the business, is that advisors are doing things they shouldn't be doing, and they need to be doing less of that, and the technology exists for them to do less of that. Therefore, there's a need for somebody to bring all of these things together.
Mm.
So that is kind of the underpinning to AutoAdvise, and that is much more important than any of the specific technology that we kind of bring out. The technology that we're working on is looking at kind of some of their biggest administrative burdens. So looking at kind of the reports that they're writing, looking at the notes that they're writing, wherever they're wasting time, and um, wherever they're wasting time writing admin, writing compliance, AutoAdvise are building an AI assistant for advisors to automate all of that work away.
So your mission is to help advisors spend more time with their clients, you know,
Absolutely.
having the impact in their lives that they should do, and therefore ease
Absolutely.
the administration burden behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
And from your research, Oren, that you've done, what is
Mm.
the biggest area where there is time lost on admin? What is taking probably the largest amount of time for advisors, in your opinion?
Mm, mm. Yeah, so when we first started the project, we went out to a couple of advice communities, one of them being Next Gen Planners, really great community for advisors. Went around the Next Gen community and spoke to about 50 to 100 advisors in kind of varying conversations, but had a similar conversation with them, kind of like, what is your biggest pain? What is your biggest time sink? Kind of where are you spending the most time? Where do you feel the most frustrated? And we kind of listed a bunch of themes that kind of kept coming up time and time again. I think the biggest and most significant time sink for a lot of advisors is in the suitability report
Hmm.
process. So depending on the type of advice they're giving, maybe it's a review with no changes. They're spending an hour maybe writing a report after a meeting. But there are some kind of more complex cases. They're spending 3 to 4 hours writing a report after every piece of kind of new advice they're giving. So you've got that time sink there. Some advisors are maybe working more on reviews, which maybe their letters are slightly shorter, but it's still a massive amount of time kind of extrapolated over a year that you're not spending either growing your business or with your clients. So suitability reports is a big area that's really painful. The other thing that we hear a lot of is that a lot of people are spending time with the LOA process, so chasing providers for information is a big pain point that people are facing. So you've got that part of it. You've also got after meetings, you're spending maybe up to an hour writing up notes for the meeting. The FCA are expectant of advisors to cover certain things in their kind of in their consumer duty when they're meeting with a client. So what's happening at the moment is that advisors are taking a meeting with a client, trying to focus on what they're helping the client with, also kind of keeping all these compliance needs in the background for all the things they need to be recording, trying to focus on the conversation, but then also as they're speaking, trying to scribble down notes, which is detracting from the conversation that they're having, leading them to miss more things. And then after the meeting, they're going back, scratching their head for an hour and trying to write all of these things up. The process for that is very, very inconsistent for a human ear to try and do that kind of thing. And yeah, therefore it leaves their clients kind of open to vulnerability. So those are a couple of the early areas. Of course, you've got also rekeying information into lots of different systems. So having the information, you've got the information already, but now you've got to spend a lot of time re-entering that information into 6 different programs. And then once you get kind of the stuff you want out of it, you've then got to put it somewhere else to store it. And so that's another big pain for advisors, is that they systems are kind of not talking to each other. Those are probably the main couple of things that people have kind of, from our research, said that they're suffering with.
Okay. I mean, the average age of an IFA is probably about 107, according to some reports, about 50 something. Okay. And AI has been around for a couple of years, but it's massively become the focal point within conversations. How are advisors adapting to the technology? Are they open to it? Do they see the benefits of it? Or is it still very much just noise out there and they just don't quite know what to do next?
I think that it is a little bit of both of those things. I think that what people see is AI and hype and this computer that can do everything, and there's this new thing on the internet and it's just amazing at everything, and kind of humans aren't needed anymore. If you're a human, you're doing things, you should be doing it with AI. And there's kind of no, it's very overwhelming. There's no kind of specific thing that this tool is good at. It's marketed as it just does everything for everything all the time. And if you don't understand it, kind of, you're an idiot and you're a dinosaur and you're going to be left behind. And I think that that can be overwhelming for people. And it also doesn't necessarily resonate with everybody, because I think you can look back and it's quite easy as a 50, 60-year-old business owner to say, I've been running my business for a while and I'm still here and I'm a human, and kind of I don't know why I would need some robot to come and do all of the things that I'm doing, because I quite like my job and I'm helping people. And so I think that where it becomes a problem is that people get so fixated on what this AI thing is, and don't really understand this kind of big fluffy concept. And they have a business, and then they have a business that maybe has some problems, but they don't kind of have that bridge between the business they're running and this new shiny technology, which everybody exactly. So I think that the advisors who are adopting it are doing something which I always say to people, is that it's more about having awareness of the problems in your business than anything else. Advisors who start with a self-awareness of kind of the problems that they're facing, and then once they've got that awareness and say, these are these list of problems, they can then find that, oh, there's AI can actually do these kind of things, and then they build from there. I think that that's the easiest way, is to understand the business and where the time's wasted, even if it's things that they think that AI could never do. Having all of those things down, and then maybe potentially going out there and speaking to people who are in the space, speaking to people who are listening to things, who are working in AI, reading content online, and then kind of seeing if there's anything that fits into the problems that they're solving. I think that a lot of advisors are embracing that, but it's usually only where they've actually been clearly educated on the value of this tool to their business specifically. So the way that I'd often see it happen was that I would have a conversation with somebody who's in their organization. They might be somebody who's kind of a bit more tech fluent, and who understands these things, and then maybe that person's going. But the key part of it is what that person does, and what we do with advisors who work with us is having a clear education on understanding the problems of the business and then finding the technology to fit into it,
Yeah.
as opposed to kind of running up to AI and just saying like, help me. And then there's so much that can come off of it that might or might not be valuable
Yeah.
for you. So
I
I
think you
think
make
that
a
that's where it
really
comes from.
important point, Aaron, that the first question is, what problem are we trying to solve? Rather than just thinking that AI is the savior for everything. It's like, what are we actually trying to solve? Because there will be
Absolutely.
elements of the tech and AI or even automation that can actually improve the journey. But without
Absolutely.
understanding your own process and the problem that you're trying to solve, I think a lot of advisors, a lot of business owners are running headfirst to AI, but
Absolutely.
then they're not asking the right question at the start. So are you saying basically, if you're an advisory firm, you should be saying, what problem are we looking to solve? And then come to a provider to help put the implementation of the technology to work with somebody who can actually do that, rather than thinking about, can AI do it? Just actually think where you're wasting time.
Absolutely, 100%. Absolutely. It has to start with self-reflection. Has to start with self-awareness, awareness of problems in the business, understanding kind of where inefficiencies lie, not limiting yourself to solutions before you've explored the problems fully, I think is really important. So I think that advisors, yeah, absolutely should be looking at kind of where they have inefficiencies, where they're spending time doing things, and then going out and speaking to people, whether that is directly kind of like messaging me on LinkedIn and saying, hey, Oren, I know you're working in AI. I'm thinking about these things. Like, I'll have that conversation, or whether it's amongst your own networks and asking others what they're doing in their business. But I think it's absolutely important to stay very attached to the problems in your business before kind of just jumping onto any kind of piece of AI that you see out there firstly. So I think that's a really important approach.
So you do the reflection piece, and then you
Absolutely.
need to speak to certain providers. And you wrote
Yeah.
something on LinkedIn to say, a lot of product features can be copied anyway. So what is unique? So, but if I'm an advisory firm, how would I go about choosing an AI partner? What do I need to be thinking about to choose somebody that can actually benefit my firm?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that what's most important is having somebody who understands you and who understands your business. I think that it is most important as a advisor to look for firms who are working with people, but a firm who can understand your problems and not a firm who's trying to push a certain solution onto you. I think that if the first conversation you have goes straight into the tool that the provider offers, I think that they're probably not listening to you as deeply as they should be. I think that you should be looking for people who ask questions, who are explorative, who are inquisitive, and start there first before any kind of solutions provided to you. So I think that that's probably something that's important to understand and gauge about a person or about an organization, is whether this person's really listening to me. Um, I think that there are a lot of I think it's quite easy to get led onto the wrong path, looking at kind of marketing, etc. stuff, and kind of jumping on what seems that everybody's doing. I think that in that circumstance, you might not always get the results that you want over a longer term because of the nature of integrating these kind of things into your business. You need somebody who listens to you and cares about you. So I think finding that kind of identifying that purpose, that value in a provider first is really important. The other things that I think are really important to think about is thinking about your security. So this AI stuff is amazing, but it's all massively reliant on having good data and having a full data from your business. So it's important to look at providers who are using things like encryption, providers who are using kind of enterprise grade APIs, providers who understand GDPR, who understand the FCA, who understand the expectations for compliance and for data privacy on your business. So I think it's important to have those conversations with your providers early on. Ask them what they're doing, ask them how they're protecting you. So that is something that's really, really important as well. So I think once you've got somebody who understands your business, who understands the constraints you operate in, and somebody who listens to you and who makes improvements based on what you say, I think that that is a space to start in such an embryonic space as the AI space. I think that that is where you want to be. The reason for that is because any product that an AI provider has at the moment is not going to be what differentiates them um, from the wider market. I think that the things are going to evolve so quickly that it's much more important to focus on the values than it is to focus on what the product looks like today. Because like I said, the developments happen just insanely fast in the AI space, and tools that were looked really flashy and great in demos a year ago kind of look the same today. Some of them tools who kind of were very early stages before have improved massively, and you don't want to end up left with a provider who has not great practices, who doesn't listen to you, who doesn't improve their tool, because you will, kind of get left behind very quickly.
Yeah, I'm speaking from experience, and working with an AI provider who understands recruitment has made my life a lot more easier, because you're
Mm,
having conversations with people who can understand the
mm,
troubles that you go through.
mm,
And we've been on this journey for 18 months. So it's not something new.
amazing.
But
Mm,
it's, I think people can get lost in the marketing. I think people think, oh my
mm,
God, this is great. Actually, there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes to actually even
yeah.
get to the root cause. And then once you get to
Mm,
the root cause of what you're trying to solve, you're then
mm,
trying to get a solution which then is almost future proof, because it continues to learn. But you need to work with a provider who
100%.
does genuinely care and actually
Mm,
understand your business, rather than
100%.
we've got a solution for this one problem.
Mm,
Now, it's a very regulated world, financial planning.
mm,
What are the current risks at the moment? Because most people,
mm.
they're probably using Chat GPT at the moment, which is open source.
Yeah.
I use it, but it's more of a personal. It's like a
Mm,
personal assistant that I have.
mm,
But in a regulatory world where you're dealing with
mm,
numbers, personal wealth, what are the
mm,
risks about just using off the shelf
mm.
LLMs like
Yeah.
ChatGPT?
So I think the thing with ChatGPT that you have to be really, really careful about is understanding kind of what the data privacy agreements are that you have with that provider. If you're using the ChatGPT in your browser, as you would kind of searching ChatGPT and using kind of that interface there, there's a setting on probably about the fourth page of settings that you toggle on or off, which is that your data can be used to train and improve the model. And so if you're putting your client's information into that, that's getting sent off to OpenAI's head offices for them to kind of do whatever they would like with it. So I think that there's some things that advisors need to be aware around data protection that I don't think that the FCA would be best pleased with if they thought that you were kind of using your client's data and sending that off to AI in out in the States. I think that there's also something as a data controller in under UK law,
Yeah.
EU law. If you're a data controller, then you have responsibilities to look after that data and to use it kind of only for the absolute purpose that the client intended. So when you're looking at ChatGPT, for to be specific, at their privacy policy, their data security policy for their generic tool, there's another phrase in the kind of wording of the privacy is that your data can be taken and transferred and stored out in other countries, which is not specified as to whether this is EU or non-EU. Therefore, your data could effectively being transited, stored in other countries which don't have GDPR. You've got to remember the US don't have GDPR. You've got to remember that the vast majority of the world outside of Europe are not really thinking about these kind of things. They're thinking of ways to turn your data into money. So if you're using a free tool, you have to think first about where this tool is making their money, what the product is. A term that I like is that if you're not paying for the product, you are the if you're not paying for the product, you are the product, which is effectively that
Yeah.
if you're not paying yeah, if you're not giving them cash, they're kind of getting cash from you some other way. And the way that this can be with free tools is through the selling of your data. So it's something to be really, really aware of with, yeah, kind of using ChatGPT and using free tools. You do not want to get into a situation where you lose your reputation or your client's data gets misused because you've kind of put it out into some open free tool on the internet.
So when an advisory business is looking at the problems they're looking to
Yes,
solve, they would look at the process, but then they also need to start thinking about policies and procedures to make sure they're
absolutely.
updated as well. So
Absolutely.
it's quite a large project, I would imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like there's is with it there is a lot of work to make sure that it's done properly. You need kind of like you said, your clients to be aware that you're whether it's recording meter or to be fully aware of the way that you're using their data. As you said, you need internal training to have some kind of you want the people who are handling the data in your business to be doing so responsibly. So there is some kind of stuff that can be a little bit overwhelming if you're already at the kind of capacity for your processes. So working with somebody who can help you through that process of integrating everything into your business and getting you set up and potentially maybe just starting small, but having all of those strengths around it, seeing the values and growing and building from there. Having someone who can go on that journey with you is yeah really helpful for advice businesses looking to integrate AI.
So you've talked about suitability reports and reviews,
Mm, mm,
LOAs,
mm,
systems as well. If you were to do a crystal ball moment, let's say in the next
yes,
2 years,
yes.
what would you say an AI ready business looks like?
So the perfect kind of business who's fully integrated AI, kind of what could their day to day look like?
Yeah.
So I think if we look at kind of the way that we are seeing AutoAdvise going, the things that we're looking at is the developments in AI, the things it's getting better at, and all of the things that the human doesn't want to do. So it really starts as soon as you wake up. I think the AI, like you said, is works as a personal assistant. So it's um, everything that you kind of that supports the work that you're doing that isn't the direct value that you're providing personally. So you're looking at something that's more of a kind of assistant on your shoulder who's with
Mm.
you everywhere that you go. So you're looking at a tool that you kind of wake up, you have your tasks for the day, maybe the AI reports back to you and says, these things are going on in your email, these things are going on. This is kind of the stuff that's on the agenda today. This is your calendar. These are the people you're meeting with. Here's a quick little reminder of who these clients are and what they need and what their situations are, links to kind of follow up on everything. And this could be a tool that kind of is on your WhatsApp or is kind of wherever's easy for you popping up on your phone. So you wake up, you log in, you see all of that. You have tasks that need to be done. There might be some tasks that have been done by the AI. The AI might be in the background, kind of writing your reports, writing up your notes, reaching out to clients, and kind of receiving information from clients, compiling information, and it will be putting kind of this easy, done for you kind of admin in front of you, saying, "Oh, these reports have been done. You're happy with this? Give this a check, send it off. Great, happy." So all of those kind of tasks going on in the background. I think that where it's going is to something that's much less much more seamless. So it's something that kind of operates with you and alongside you, that you're going to your meetings, you're having a meeting with your client, you're completely engaged in the meeting. Potentially there could be something throughout the meeting that's prompting you to have better conversations. Ask this question. They just mentioned this. Explore this vulnerability more. There could be an option there to go deeper into this, or maybe reading between the lines of what they're saying potentially so that you can understand good advice and recommendations for them. So there's an AI that's kind of prompting you, that's superpowering you, and all of the things that you're missing is catching everything. So every time that you miss a comment that someone makes, the AI picks up on it and kind of prompts you and allows you to supercharge yourself by understanding that. I think that the meeting. Go on, James. So,
I'm just interested in this point because I feel
mm,
there is. I spoke to a tech dude, as I call him,
mm,
tech dude, who is actually working in financial services, and he said to me,
yeah,
he said, I think it was, I quote him correctly. If I don't, that's fine.
mm,
CRMs are dead. That's what he said. CRMs are
okay,
dead. If he was building an advice business, he would be
mm,
designing workflows rather than
mm,
having a CRM. Now,
mm,
most businesses have a CRM system, but I also
mm-hmm,
find that CRM systems are reliant on the human doing an
mm,
action within it. And when you
mm,
say about there'll be prompts from the
mm,
AI, there'll be assistant to say,
mm,
things in your diary. I think that's
mm,
perfect, but I think there's
mm,
still a disconnect with how that works visually in my head. So I walk in, my AI assistant saying, you've got to phone these three people, you're doing a podcast, remember that. And then trying to capture that data on the CRM as well. So what's your view on CRMs in general? Is there a future? Is it workflows? Can it be combined? Because this is where I have a bit of an internal battle with myself with our own CRM system.
So I think that there is, you've got to look at the value that the CRM is kind of providing to you and what the CRM does for you as a business, and kind of where the, kind of what's most important about that. What I think that I see is maybe not necessarily an instant death of CRMs, but I think that the way that they will be interacted with will be very different. We're already looking at AI that can kind of log into different systems, that can operate and kind of pull from things one way or another, whether it's APIs, whether it's that the AI is actually going through, clicking through the screen themselves. So I think that these CRMs maybe potentially will be interacting with AI more than they would be interacting with humans eventually. I think they'll get to a point where the data will all need to be stored and organized for someone to pull up easily.
Yeah.
But if I were, the way that we're kind of looking at it with AutoAdvise is that the AI is going to be aware of those systems, and all of the CRMs are going to have full integration with AI. So the AI can go in and kind of type and make your CRM updates that are the update itself, and having that tracking in your business is really important. But the way that it's being done at the moment by a human manually keying things, I think that is what's going to completely change. So I think that I could see a world where it's AI that's logging in and managing CRMs and just sending you a text to say that this is done and sorted out for you. You don't need to actually log in and look at it yourself.
But your vision, which I completely agree with, by the way, and I say this to my guys in the office, is you wake up in the morning and you're getting these prompts and nudges from your AI assistants to help you, maximize the time that you should be spending with clients, as opposed to getting involved in admin, because it can learn the admin. And it will also start to say, oh, do you want me to send that letter to that client confirming the meeting? It should be doing that. Is that where you think this is going?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. I think that it will need the training that you'd give to a human assistant. I think that people who are helping with admin and stuff in the business, I think that the way that it's going is that it's going to be able to handle more and more random and kind of sporadic and ad hoc tasks. I think that's kind of the next level for AI. I think at the moment, if you give it a specific task, say this needs to be done really clearly, had a great conversation with an advisor the other day, was that it's like at the moment it's automating specific tasks. That's great and saves a lot of time. But a lot of the reason that advisors have their admin assistant is not necessarily just for one specific task to do over and over again, but it's lots of these random little bits. It's, oh, did you speak to that person? Keeping on top of things, keeping tabs on emails that come through, managing, filtering things. And I think that the small and one-off and kind of that sustained understanding of the business in lots of different random and small tasks is the direction that it's going in much more and more. So having a full understanding of the wider business and contributing in loads and loads of different ways, as opposed to having kind of one AA doing one thing, is the way that I see it going more in the future.
And would you say you're hugely optimistic with regards to AI and the Cambry? We can live together in harmony.
Yeah, I would say I'm optimistic. I would say I'm optimistic about the opportunities for people. I think that the concept of taking jobs and stuff is I find a little bit silly. I think it's just evolution. I think that when factories came in and everybody was freaking out that machines were taking everybody's jobs, humans just did other things. So I think that it's going to be like that. I can see a world change where humans change and do different things that provide value. So I'm very optimistic about that, and I'm very optimistic that there's so many people who are working, doing jobs, doing things that is not getting the most out of them as human. I speak to power planners, admins, who are super, super intelligent, very well versed in financial services, and could be valuable somewhere else. But what they need to do is get into work and sort their paperwork out. That's what needs to be done. So I think that I'm very optimistic about the lifting of these kind of burdens on humans, and to see what more we can do and what more value we can provide as from being human beings. So I think the thing that I'm most optimistic about is a future where humans must be humans and humans provide value from being humans. Anything that's robotic in the nature of the task will be done by a robot. And I'm excited for how personal I think the world is going to become.
I think you make a very good point. I think if from the advice sector, I would be honing my skills with human behavior and understanding. I mean, you've got a psychology degree. If your day has been involved in getting involved in stuff, then now your day should be involved with clients and having stronger connections with clients, and really to unearth and unravel their fears of money or investment. Really get them to open up, so you become more of a coach as opposed to this is the right product for you. It won't suit everybody. I know some advisors are very product orientated, but it will help those advisors who can then hone their skills, which is the most important thing, which is relationship based. That's my view. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the way that I see it going. I think I see that there are the tasks around, like you said, product recommendations, whether it's anything that's kind of doing research and stuff. The volume of data that AI can ingest at one time is absolutely incomparable to even a massive group of humans. So I think that it would be silly to think that the AI is not going to be able to be better at these things with kind of being provided the right context. So I absolutely think that all of the whether it's kind of like selecting products, all of the kind of specific technical stuff, I think that computers will just get better and better at that. But the part where my bet lies is that there will be a while until humans feel comfortable and are made more comfortable by a robot than what a human can make them. So I believe that there's something that's innate and built into us, which is evolutionary. And in that evolutionary part of our mind, I think that we will bond together as humans and feel kind of supported by other humans who have been on pursuits. So I believe that, the opportunity is going to be massive, and it's going to become a massive human trust economy. And that's kind of the way that I see it going.
That's very well put. Imagine a time when we can spend more time with each other. Maybe my wife will think differently. I don't know. Can't solve every problem today. Just before we wrap up the podcast, is there anything else that you want to mention to the advisory community with regards to what they should be thinking about? Because we've talked about, the first question, they should be trying to analyze what the problem is that they're trying to solve. Is there any advice that you want to impart now with regards to the advice community with AI and what they should be doing next?
I would say just keep asking questions, keep asking questions, whether it's internal, ask questions. Why are things done this way? How could it be better? What do we not enjoy? What are we really how are we really providing value? Keep asking those questions internally. And then once you've kind of got that view, keep asking those questions externally as well. Speak to other advisors. What are they doing? Reach out to people who are doing things in the space who seem like they're helping people. Learn and learn and learn and learn and try and stay abreast of kind of everything that's going on at the moment in the advice world and the AI world. Sorry, I think that it's really, really important to keep learning and keep an awareness kind of from one week to another. The tools that are available to people are massively changing. AI is an element of development and revolution like we've never really seen before. It's something at this rapid pace that from one week to another kind of something completely life-changing is happening, and this is happening kind of for the last year and a half. So it's really, really important to keep asking questions, because you've spoken to one AI thing, you've thought about one AI thing. It doesn't mean that you've kind of understood fully the capabilities today. And if you had a review 3 months ago, it doesn't mean that you're kind of the possibilities are not completely different today. So I think that my parting advice to advisors who are interested in the space is just to keep asking questions. Ask questions in lots of different places, internally, externally, from providers, from other advisors, and just stay curious through this period of amazing growth.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'll probably add to that slightly, and don't overcomplicate it with the tech. You don't need to know the tech. There are people that can
100%.
help you, but just understand your own problems, and
Absolutely.
then you'll be amazed at the solutions that can be offered. So I think that's
absolutely.
We get worried about, how does this work? How can it do that? Don't worry about that. Just focus on what the problems are, and then the solutions will be available because somebody will be thinking about them.
Exactly.
Great. Where can people find you then, Oren, if they want to connect with you or find out a bit more about what you do or how you can help them?
Yeah, anybody who is interested in AI, and anybody who thinks that there could be potential for their business to solve some problems, get a bit more effective, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can find me Oren Henry and just drop me a DM. You can just DM me AI and I'll send you some stuff. We'll have a chat and yeah, explore a little bit about your business, whether there are tools out there who could help you, whether there's certain places that you should be going for free resources, learning a little bit more, events that are happening, speakers who are talking. More than happy to share free resources with everybody, have conversations with everybody. And so, yeah, the best place to find me is Oren Henry on LinkedIn.
Brilliant. You've been a great guest. I've really learned a lot today as well. But I do have one final question for you, Oren, if I may.
Yes.
Totally unconnected to AI, but it's a question that I ask most guests. So I'm going to give you a magic wand. Okay.
Yes.
This magic wand can give you one wish and one wish only. What would you wish for and why?
I would wish that people were no longer afraid, or I would wish that people no longer prevented fear from allowing them to explore what they were truly capable of.
Very good. Very good. I like that. Good. Well, that's a really deep question, actually. Or sorry, a deep answer. Thank you for that. I think fear holds us back a lot.
Me too.
And just imagine what we're capable when we experience stepping outside of that fear. We are capable of amazing things. Yeah, indeed. Oren, it's been an absolute delight. Thank you very much for your time today. And advisors, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, what do I do next? This guy, he knows what he's talking about. He's obviously got a very interesting background, so reach out to him because he actually understands what it takes to be an advisor and what you're going through. So there you go. I'll do your plug for you. It's all right.
Thank you, James. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for your time. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you, James.